So now it's an absolute pleasure once again to be joined by Paul English from A Pop Fan's Dream. Paul has been going through picking out the tracks that weren't on the Now Yearbooks and the Now Yearbook Extra releases, and he's back
Yeah.
again. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Chris. Great to be back. Thanks
Yeah,
very much.
it is great to be back. Now, I suppose the
Yeah.
first question, just before you go into it, is I thought that we would have had more Vault announcements since 81 and 80, and they seem to have gone a bit quiet. Do you think we're going to get another one?
Yeah. Well, you'd hope they'd have 1982 just to complete that 5 year sequence from 80 to 84.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just leaves looks very bad having a gap. I don't know if they'll go the full way of the decade, or even if they'll do other decades. Vaults from the 70s would be difficult to do because there aren't as many tracks hitting the top 40 or outside, just because things stayed in the charts longer. So it would be good to have the full 80s, but I think they've obviously slowed up for the year. They're not, we're not going to see any more yearbooks or extras until after Christmas. And I presume the next release would be the 91 extra. I don't know if that was announced today. Normally announcements are Thursdays.
Yeah, I've not heard anything today, to be
No.
honest with you. No. And
So
obviously we've had the start of this 60s announcement as well, which I
yeah,
wasn't expecting.
no, not all. Yeah, putting 3 years together, which is nice. I'm playing it this week. It's good. I prefer if they did 2 years together, like the Millennium series, and put two CDs for 1 year and two for another year. As it stands, they've mixed up the 3 years across the four CDs. So each disc has tracks from, it's not chronological really, but it's a good selection and it sounds good and it's in the style. Not sure if it's canon yearbook, but it's certainly yearbook presents type thing. So
Yeah. But obviously
um
there's going to be this weird bit at the beginning of the 70s that are they going to do a yearbook for, 70, 71, 72, or are we going to get a kind of
a
a
three
month,
year.
a 3-yearer?
Yeah, that would look a bit messy. 70, 71, and 72, there it could be difficult to do a yearbook unless they start using American hits. The
Right.
American charts are very different because I have a lot of compilations from both sides and there's very little overlap. Like the Time Life Sounds of the 70s, which is 37 volumes, a lot of years of 2 years. There's an awful lot of tracks, great tracks, but from artists that didn't really peak in the UK at that time, or maybe came along later. So I think from 73 onwards, it gets a bit easier to do, and they've done that. We're just missing 75 from that run, and I'd say that will come
I
soon enough.
think I think it will.
Yeah,
So, well, let's go through the 81 Extra Plus
yeah,
playlist because there's so many great tracks that they've not managed to get for licensing or whatever, isn't there, Paul?
yeah. The 81 Vault, when it came out, had about 10 tracks that I had on my Extra Plus.
On the original one, yeah.
Yeah, 9 or 10. So I had to obviously move them off and put replacements. Now, the first thing I do when I'm doing a replacement is try and replace an artist with a track from the same artist. So I was able to do that with two of them, with Level 42 and The Clash. So I could put on Star Child instead of Love Games and Hitsville UK instead of This Is Radio Clash. But after that, it was bringing on seven new, seven different artists. So the disc, the start of it isn't that different for the first four tracks. You have the big hitters like the Stones with Start Me Up, Bowie's Scary Monsters. Basically, he doesn't appear at all in the yearbooks apart from the '60s tracks. Dire Straits, Romeo and Juliet, and Phil Collins in the air tonight. Phil Collins seems to be a problem for now
Yeah.
because he was left off the numbered reissues as well. He wasn't on 12 or 17. So that's a fairly popular FM heavy start. And then we go into a bit more rock with Slade. We Bring the House Down, which was a big year, a big couple of years for Slade. Status Quo, Saxon, Iron Maiden. So it's kind of a metal feel before slipping back with kind of a ska vibe with Bad Manners, Lorraine, Kid Creole, Mino, Popeye. There's no Kid Creole on any of the yearbooks, so again, easy to put them in. And the aforementioned Clash track from Sandinista, Hitsville, UK. Then we have Depeche Mode for two tracks. They feature on both discs. So their second and third singles, which were the last two with Vince Clarke, You Life and Just Can't Get Enough. Um, a a bit of not comedy, but a bit more lighter stuff comes along in the last section with the likes of Tony Capstick. Capstick Comes Home, Joe Dolce, Music Theatre. Not a great track. not not popular with Ultravox fans.
No.
No, the Freshies, which is a song about singing about a girl he fancied in the local Manchester Virgin Megastore, which is very funny.
I
It's
don't
Frank
think I've
Side.
heard that one, Paul. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
check that one out.
yeah, it's Frank Sidebottom, the guy who used to have a paper mache
He
head.
did.
Yeah, so that's him. And
Ah,
you have the Fall from Manchester. They're my favorite band. I've put a few tracks of theirs in their yearbooks. They only started hitting the top 40 in 1987. So these were steady sellers, but didn't trouble the charts. And there's a few rock revival, racy Alvin Startist and the Polecats. So it's a nicely varied CD1 with 22 tracks that I think works pretty well. Oh, you have Stars on 45, the third single of theirs,
there
which
was a
has the
lot of them in
Star Wars.
1981, though, weren't there?
Yeah, you had the medleys. Yeah, you had the Beach
Yeah.
Boys one as well, which is a different group that put that together. So yeah, they were all the rage. With
My pick from Dis One, I mean, I love
yeah,
Lorraine Bad Manners. That is a
yeah,
great
lovely
tune.
tune. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But let's go through Disc 2 if we may.
Just two. It starts off with some soul, Stevie Wonder, Quincy Jones, Ottawa, and then moves into a stretch of Brit funk. So you have Lynx, Imagination, Beggar and Company, who I just saw on Top of the Pops recently, an old, obviously, episode, Heatwave with Jitterbugging, Third World, and Level 42, which would loosely fit into that category. So that's nine tracks down, and it's kind of a similar sound. Then it's Bill Wyman's track, his solo track, which complements the Stones. Genesis Abacab, Genesis again don't seem to be licensable. George Harrison, all those years ago, nice track. In the wake of John Lennon's death, so that I think that was 2 or 3 months after,
Just
and
on
then
that
it's
one,
kind of
Paul, was that
yeah,
right that Ringo, Paul, they both contributed in different formats to that all those years ago, not at the
I
same
think so.
time?
Yeah, yeah,
Is that
yeah.
right?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I'd have to verify, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case because that was I suppose, a response from the three of them to what happened
Yeah.
on the 8th of December. The remainder of the disc is a bit of variety of Squeeze Tempted, which surprised I wasn't on the yearbooks. The Nolan's Chemistry, not a not a brilliant track, but interesting. Better than some of their other stuff. Tenpole Tudor, who played in my local dance hall in 1981 or 82. £2.50 was the entrance fee.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so yeah, it was packed. A lot of kids at it, as in people from teenagers, but they had a full bar, so you can imagine. Yeah, so um, that was a memorable event. And then you have The Cure, Charlotte Sometimes, a great non-album single. Ultravox, The Thin Wall. Ultravox have been on the yearbooks, just they release so much that they haven't gathered up everything. And finishing off with Talking Heads, Once in a Lifetime, great song. Single mix, very difficult to find in CD. It's only been compiled once on a summer compilation from 1994,
Oh, wow.
a 4 CD set just dedicated to summer songs, and it's on that, but nowhere else. And it's never been on a Talking Heads compilation. The
Yeah.
single version is about a half minute shorter, and it ends with Chariots of Fire, big tune, big film that year. Not sure why that hasn't been on. You don't see it in many compilations nowadays.
I mean, just to
Yeah,
touch on, I was surprised with Tempted as well, because we have
yeah,
had Squeeze songs
yeah,
quite a lot in the yearbooks, and I love that song, and I thought we're gonna get it, and we didn't get it in the final
yeah.
chapter, we didn't get it in the, yeah, in the
Yeah,
vault. I thought that would have been a good opportunity as well, and there doesn't seem like there's going to be like you say, a way of including it now for whatever reason.
No, they've done final chapter and extra. They're hardly going to revisit the 80s. I think the 82 vault. I think once the vaults are done, there won't be vault extras. That's that's
Hmm.
pushing it too much. You can't get blood out of a stone. You have to draw the line somewhere. Um, but I'd say we'll see next year probably the 90s. Uh, another two or three volumes. 94, 95 still to come, and 99
And a lot of
and
people
90 and
after
96. Yeah.
the 85 to 89 final chapters, do you think
Yes.
there's probably enough material for those as well, you
There's enough material for that, and if and when that comes out, that will obviously create revisions next level.
think?
I'd say you could be looking at 7 or 8 tracks per per extra plus that would have to go, which is it's difficult, but just to keep it consistent. I don't want any overlap. I thought we'd get the final chapter before Christmas. We haven't gotten an announcement for a couple of weeks, so I thought that might come in December, and then it's extra come in February, because that's what they did for the 80 to 84. They
Yeah,
released
yeah.
it in December, and then the extra in February. So, and they had the 85 extra in between. So, yeah, it's you'd love them to hurry up and start doing 2 volumes a month and all that, but
Oh, I
they
don't
seem
know.
to be.
I'd have to pay for them though. That's the thing. It
Yeah,
starts
yeah,
like
yeah,
spending the money for them. Paul, thank you for updating us on the 81 Extra
yeah,
Plus. It's a brilliant playlist, and
yeah.
we'll
I'm
put the
glad you
link, of
like it.
course, on the screen. But great to have your company once again.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, thanks very much, Chris, and look forward to doing it again whenever the next one comes up.
I found that the yearbook was a great spin-off, one of the best ones the Now team have done in years. And I also had a great mop-up with 3 more CDs of the year's hits. Ultimately, licensing prevents the team from getting chart hit, or in some cases it's laid down to labels or artists or whatever. And
No, it's all right.
in other cases, there's just maybe a blind spot with certain tracks, or some don't, because they're cherry picking the past as opposed to, you know, time. There's invariably some omission. So the purpose of my Extra Plus series is a 2 CD mop up, a virtual Spotify playlist. I've kept it to disc, so the total running time is going to be around 2 hours 37 or 38 minutes, and it's obviously sequenced to be played in, not on shuffle play or random. So the first one I did was, well, the first one I'll talk about tonight is Now Yearbook Extra Plus 1981, which is a 40 track double CD, 21 tracks and 19. So I'll just start going through the tracks, if
Yeah,
that's
I
okay.
mean,
Or do
there's
you
some
want
there's
to?
some great ones. I mean, my favourites from this one, just my personal ones, I'd
Hmm.
say Bill Wyman,
Yeah,
Just Being Rockstar. That's a great one that obviously was omitted.
yeah.
And daft ones like Racing, Run Around Sue, which is a great one from 81. But what about yours?
Well, I decided to start with Start Me Up because it's an obvious one. It's the first Rolling Stones track they allowed to be used in advertisements. It was used to launch Windows 95. If you're old enough to remember that a track, so it just really sets the scene. The Bowie track is another favorite as well. Probably one of the lesser Scary Monsters, but a fine track. Then you have some nice rock tunes that didn't maybe hit the mark chart-wise, like Dire Straits' Romeo and Juliet, Springsteen's The River, and Steve Winwood's While You See a Chance. And after that, obviously kicked off their chart hits in 1981. So we've 2 tracks from them on this. We've New Life on disc 1 and Just Can't Get Enough on this. Unfortunately, they're omitted from the Now Yearbook and Extras, presumably to do with Mute, because Yazoo aren't there as well. So favorite as well is the kind of the comedy end sequence at the end with Joe Dolce's Music Theatre, the track that Ultravox fans, the capstick from the home Hovis adverts with Capstick Comes Home. So I think it's a nice mix, and some throwbacks to the past with, as you artist from the the glam years.
And obviously, disc two, you've got "Tempted," which was a great song omitted from the '81 releases, and
Yes.
George Harrison, which was possibly like the last. Was it the last time that the Beatles got the three of the Beatles got together? I might be wrong on that fact.
I think well, yeah, the three of them. It's 1981. I think it possibly is. I'd have to double check, but
yeah,
it's one that kind of gets missed, the tribute, so it was nice to include it. There's a bit of a Brit funk sequence, within Third World. Then you have Level 42 starting off with Love Games from their, a very funky first album. And we get into The Cure with single Charlotte Sometimes, a little bit of New Romantics with, The Thin Wall and Love Song. And we finish up then with the madness of Kate Bush's Sat on Your Lap and Laurie Anderson's Oh Superman, which I still can't get over. It got to number 2, 8 minutes.
It's a long song. It's such a long song.
Yeah, there was no like I say, I think it's 8 minutes 25 seconds. There's no edit, there's no promo version even. So I can't imagine it got that much airplay at the time. I don't recall hearing it. I do remember obviously seeing the top. Yeah, amazing to see how diverse the charts were in 1981 when something like that could get as far as second place. And I think it's nice, Chariots of Fire, from the film. So yeah, the 1981, I think it hangs together quite well. There's but there wasn't much that I had to compromise on apart from the use of a couple of album versions, 7-inch mixes, but there's not too much of that in this particular one. So Spotify has got a lot better in the last couple of years in terms of playlists or recreations. There's a lot more there than there used to be.
Well, we're going to put the list of the link to the playlist on the video so people can find it.
Okay, great.
And we're pushing for time. So what we're going to do is we're going to say bye for now, Paul, for the 81. And people take a look at the 81 playlist. It is such a good playlist. Check it out. And Paul, thank you for joining us for this first part of the 81 plus. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much, Chris.